Welcome, everyone. This is the inaugural episode of a new show that is a spinoff, sorts, to the Blurred Nerds podcast. We are doing this so to, I don't know, expand our horizons. So I'm a big nerd, big Trek nerd. You may also be a big Trek nerd, you who are watching. We all love Star Trek to some extent. Now, my guest here that I have with me today is probably way more of a nerd about the minute details of Star Trek than anyone else I know. Viewers, I want to welcome a fan of the Blurred Nerds and one of my dear friends, Patricia Lopez Lavelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I can't complain. It's a fine day. The sun is shining, and so it's all good.
The sun is shining. We get to talk about Star Trek. So
no, huh? But since we love Trek and have done innumerable rewatches of the various series, even Enterprise, we feel like we can
rip Enterprise to go back and start from the beginning.
It's been a long road getting from there to here.
That was my ringtone for a while.
For some reason, I like that theme song. People ripped on it, but I'm like, but that's nice. I don't mind it.
It very much reminds me of a 90210 spinoff.
It does, right? 90210. Like when they went to college or something, right? You're just like, oh, it's like the same, but a little different.
Yeah. Well, they did a spinoff of 90210. I believe it was called The Heights, where it was like one of the guys, like the working class guys that helped out.
Like his parents couldn't afford to send him there, so he had to get a job.
Yeah, he was like a handyman or whatever, and so they spun off, and it's the theme song for that show is "How Do I Talk to an Angel?"
Yeah, I remember that.
It very much reminds me of that song.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we go all tangent on this.
Yeah, before we go totally sideways.
We watched the various series, even Enterprise. So we feel like we can riff on and point out things we've noticed, in the shows that we didn't notice when we were younger. The more older we've gotten, the more you pay attention to things, like representation and justice, and things that Trek. A series that is supposed to be all inclusive and let's all get together and it's a great future. There's no war, there's no poverty, there's no hunger, everyone gets medicine, there's no money. It's like, okay, that sounds a great future, but the show sometimes didn't exhibit that as well as they said they were going to. But the main thing we're here to discuss today is the noticeable lack of diversity, inequality in a universe that is supposed to be full of both. So I got this idea from an episode of Voyager I watched the other day titled, was it Favorite Son?
Favorite Son.
About Ensign Harry Kim getting caught up going to a planet of mid-1990s hotties. I don't know if you youngins know about the 90s, but television shows in the 90s, they never missed a chance to put scantily clad hot women in TV shows. I mean, sure, it's just kind of the same now, but as times have changed in the Me Too movement, it's people are a little more aware and responsible when they do stuff like that. But in the 90s, it was like, nah, nobody cares. Just get the blondest, hottest girl and put her in the least amount of clothes we can get away with on cable, on over the air cable, So
just this side of sheer.
Like as long as the nipples aren't showing, maybe we can throw in some space side boob, maybe.
No, that teenage boys playing that game. Is that boob? Is that under boob? What kind of boob is that?
Yeah, or we took like butt crack. We're looking at boob.
Yeah. What is that? Pause it. No, rewind it, dude. Rewind it.
Right. Pause it. Yeah. I know the advent of the VCR allowed prepubescent teenage boys ample opportunity, as well as I'm sure some women, to pause and ruminate on their favorite starlets and people, because nerds, you know how we are. I was commenting to you the other day about Counselor Troy and just how awesome she is, because she's very attractive.
Yeah.
Marina Sirtis is a very attractive woman, and they put
Yeah.
her in the most skin tight jumpsuits possible.
Everything was form fitting and
they said
accentuating.
They said actually everyone wore them like 1 or 2 sizes too small, just to make sure they were form fitting. And
you can see the bones in her. She had to wear a corset to get into that outfit. You can see the ribbing in it.
Yeah, and they had built-in padded bras.
Oh yeah.
That unfortunately that went on until Voyager, when Kate Mulgrew was like, "F this! I'm not wearing this." She ripped it out of the uniform and slapped it on the desk of like the producer or something and said, "I'm not doing this." And they were like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But still, we're talking about how, a lot of the minority characters in Star Trek didn't get treated as well as maybe they could have been.
Yeah, they were quite often just kind of treated like decoration, like part of the set.
Relegated to secondary status all too often.
Right.
So it's like Harry Kim, they end up, for whatever reason, getting into some shenanigans. Like they come across an alien race. He says, like, "Captain, they're going to shoot and fire." So he fires and blows them up, and they're like, "Harry, how did you know that was going to happen?" He's like, "I just knew." I don't know. It was magic, space magic. So they end up roundabout way going to this planet. And of course, the planet, they get there, and it's nothing but women. It's nothing but women wearing the little clothes as possible, and like one other dude. And they're like, "Oh, Harry, we're so glad you found us. We've been waiting for you to come home." He's like, "What? What are you talking about?" And like they find out his DNA had been changed, and we
are galactic dodo birds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've come home to us to roost, and here's 2 hot women for you, and there's 2 hot women for that guy, and we're all, it's hot women for everybody. Yeah. It's like, are they the only 2?
There's plenty to go around.
Yeah. Are they
1 the only, or 3?
Or 4, whatever, however many you can handle. Yeah. We've got a lot of women for you to inseminate. You're gonna be busy. A lot of work to do. A lot of work. So it was like, here's your 2 chicks, and I'm thinking while I'm watching it, like, 2 chicks at the same time, man. You know what I'd do if I had $1 million? So, and I'm thinking, okay, it's good, cool. He's thinking he's gonna stay. He's like, look, this is my new home. Look at the chicks they've hooked me up with. I know, I'm about to get. All right, I found my people. I found my naked people. I found my good people. So he figured he was going to get some of that space good, right? So he thought. So he was about to be sucked dry, but unfortunately, not in the good way. They were going to like suck out all his juice and his space seed. See what I did there? And
I believe the phrase he used was, "We need a massive influx of DNA."
Yeah, totally. All right, DNA. So. So they were going to like kill him, basically. So he was in peril, and in the nick of time, Janeway and the crew of Voyager saved him from the peril. It was very perilous. Yeah.
Yeah. Boobies are dangerous.
Boobies are totally dangerous. But I was sitting there thinking, if he were Paris, he would have gotten to bang those chicks first, and then they would have saved him.
Yeah.
Or he would have found a way to save himself and then called the captain and been like, "Captain, this planet is evil, and I'm not really one of them. Let's rescue me." But
I've done some intense probing.
Yeah,
but can now go home now?
Yeah, come back in 20 minutes and hook me up. Energize. Beam me up. So, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, but Harry Kim just didn't get that kind of the benefit, and it led me to think like, well, they treated Geordi the same way.
Yeah, well, and it seems to me that there's a very distinct difference between how they wanted, they wouldn't let Harry do anything like that or kind of take on that parasol because they wanted him to be this virtuous character. But yeah, not really allow him to grow.
Face?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
yeah, they didn't want him to grow because he was an ensign for 7 years.
Right.
Look, I get it that ensigns have jobs to do and there's a hierarchy, like command but hook a brother up, make him a lieutenant at least. Jeez, man.
Paris went from go on this voyage or we're going to put you in prison to being a lieutenant.
Right? It's like, okay, apparently white privilege is alive and well in the 24th century.
Yeah.
But I mean, you understand the show for the time it was the 90s, and it was still cool for the Caucasian man to be the hero and get the chicks and win the day and save the poor minority folks from themselves and from peril.
Right. Well, and when you're watching it growing up, I grew up with Next Generation is my first experience with Trek. And I saw everything and I just kind of accepted it. And it was like, this is cool. This is awesome. I'm just going to take this all in, not thinking critically about any of it because our brains just aren't capable of doing it at that age. But when you get older and you watch it a second time, you have all these, wait a second. Hold on. What? Like I didn't remember about Dr. Pulaski being such a bleepity-bleep.
Karen, right? She was a big old Karen.
Oh, she was so ahead of her time in that matter.
He treated Data like trash.
Yeah, I didn't remember her being like that until I watched it again, and I told Wes, and I was like, I kind of like Dr. Pulaski, and he's like, what? Why? And then I watched it, I'm like, oh yeah.
She is universally despised across all Trek fandoms.
Yeah, for good reason.
Because I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is the Pulaski season. And immediately she's dealing with Data. She's like, shut up, machine. Be quiet, you, and know your place. I'm like, she's being a little bit racist to the robot.
Yeah. Well, I know what your name is, but I'm not going to call you that. I'm going to call you something else.
Yeah, she was like, Data. He's like,
Data.
He's like, no, bitch, it's Data. In his nice, polite way. I'm thinking, you tell her, Data.
Well, I love how he's like, well, what's the difference? Well, one is my name and one is not.
Right? It's like, how about I call you Dr. Bitch Lasky? You wouldn't like that. That's not your name, is it? Hey, that's not my name. Yeah. And then, of course, the story behind that is, and this again leads to a situation with representation and minorities and female characters. Even though they were more present on the shows, doesn't mean they got treated better all the time, as you can see.
Right.
Like, because I know there was quotes from Gene Roddenberry, who talked about that he unfortunately ignored women in the original series, and that with the introduction of the Next Generation, he wanted to correct that and make women present, which he did, but he made them present, but not always heard and seen well enough, So, everyone was like, all the fans were just crushed. Crushed when Dr. Crusher was replaced with, was it Diana Muldaur?
Diana Muldaur, yeah.
Yeah.
Who was on the original series.
Right. She was a personal friend of Gene Roddenberry. And she only signed up to do it as a favor to him. She wasn't in it for the long term. She was just like, I'm just going to do this for like a season or whatever, be out anyway. Yeah. But she wouldn't even have been there if Dr. Crusher, if Gates McFadden hadn't been fired from the show. Like, fired? Why? She was great. Everyone loved her. Yeah. Apparently, there was a male producer. Always the men's fault, isn't it?
Those darn testicles.
Those darn. I have a pair, and they're always getting in my way. It's insane. But there was a male producer that, chauvinist, was just, he didn't like her.
Oh yeah. And
And
she stood up for herself, and
she did. She raised some questions about some sexist episodes. Like there was one where the Enterprise went to a planet. Uh, the planet was called Angel One. They went to a planet, and the women were dominant, and they were larger and stronger than the men. So of course, the set is full of a bunch of short men, and all the women are like statuesque models. They're all like 5'11", 6 feet tall.
Yeah, they're all these.
And the guys are
Amazon.
like 5'3". You're just like, okay, it's cool, but who names a planet Angel One? That's ridiculous. That's dumb. But she raised concerns like this episode is sexist. Like the men are portrayed as mongoloid knuckle dragging idiots, and the women are portrayed great. But it's like you can make this society patriarchal, but not denigrate the men.
Right.
So like this is supposed to be a equal future. And so he had issues with it. So the producer, he didn't want to deal with what he thought was a difficult woman. So.
Well, no, because he's a man, so he knows better.
Yeah, he's a man. What manly madness?
The woman's not going to tell him what to do.
Like, let me mansplain to her first, and then I'll fire her. Right, because that's how it worked in the '90s. Apparently, I guess. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. So she tells a story, that she got fired, and of course the fans raised hell, and season 2 was one of their lowest rated. Everyone was like, "I'm not watching that."
Or was it season 3, wasn't it?
Season 2 and 3.
Or am I wrong?
Seasons 1 through 3, basically, to be honest, I was watching season 1. I'm like, they didn't do nothing. I think every once in a while there was an alien entity that took over the ship.
Yeah.
And then they solved every problem with diplomacy. And I'm like, but I want to see some pew pew pew, man. Give me some. You got phasers and photon torpedoes. Shoot something.
Right.
Come on. I see. Being a Star Wars fan primarily.
I can't do that. I'm always jealous of people that can make the Chewbacca noise, because Chewbacca's my favorite.
It's just been. I practice. I've been practicing since I was 7 years old. Just having action figures and watching the movies, and then realizing that I can't have my Darth Vader or my Chewbacca sound like my Luke Skywalker. Like, they're not all going to sound the same. So I'm doing the dialogue in the movie. So the Darth Vader's like, Luke, I'm your father. And Luke's like, that's impossible. And then Chewie's like, oh. And then, of course, what happens is my mother, thinking all hell's breaking loose in my room, comes barreling in. Who's making that noise? What? Me? What? Me? Oh, this is me. She's like, you? Yeah. But I heard all these voices. Well, yeah, that was me. She's like, she does that. Moms do. She just shook her head like, my boy is weird. I'm raising.
Something's not right with that one.
Yeah, I'm raising a weirdo child. I can't. I'm raising a weirdo child. I just gotta.
Yeah, just accept it.
Yeah, just close the door gently, and just don't put any holes in the wall or break nothing. Just
don't make anybody bleed.
Yeah, I don't need to be taking you to the emergency room. None of that.
Right. Right.
So this is me Star Trekking from a Star Wars fan perspective. I'm like, I need the action. Is someone gonna shoot somebody? But so we were talking. Ensign Kim got kicked around. They even killed him one time, right? Cloned him and didn't tell him he died or something. And they cloned him and didn't tell him, because it's like, oh, we won't tell him. He doesn't need to know. And he finds out, and they're like,
so long since I've watched Voyager.
You died. We had to clone you. We're sorry. I mean,
oops.
Right? Our bad. You're like, dude, that's kind of uncool. I mean, just saying.
Well, he almost got fired. They were going to fire him.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me. Please do elaborate.
They had whenever 7 of 9 came aboard, the producers are like, well, we don't want to pay one more person, so we need to reduce the regular cast by 1. And they were going to fire Garrett Wang. And it was either, it had to come down to Ensign Kim or Neelix's girlfriend. What?
Yes.
Cass. Yes, it was either going to be Cass or Ensign Kim, and they had decided to fire Ensign Kim, Garrett Wang. And then people's list of the 50 most beautiful people in the country came out, and he was on it. He was number 18.
How about that?
And so, like, well, we can't fire him now. He's got publicity.
He's a beautiful people now. We can't fire beautiful people.
Yeah, we can't fire beautiful people. We'll fire the woman.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll bring another woman on. It'll be okay.
It was in the mid-90s. Hey, fire the woman. It'll be fine.
So yeah, they fired Cass and kept Ensign Kim because they were too cheap to pay for another actor.
So he almost got canned.
He did.
He got saved because he was pretty. He was too pretty.
He got saved because he was pretty, which is kind of America in a nutshell.
Isn't it though? You are not wrong.
But the episode with Ensign Kim has a little bit of Babylon 5 trivia in it. A little tiny nugget.
Do tell, since you are the trivia maven. We forgot to tell you folks a little bit about my friend Patricia before she gets into the minute details of this episode. My friend Patricia is a Trivial Pursuit genius. She is a savant with this shit. I kid you not. I only played her one time, and that's all I needed to know for her to know that I could never defeat her at Trivial Pursuit. We are playing this game down to the wire. Absolutely. The last, like, she's Jordan. She's got the ball, 3 seconds on the clock, and she shoots a fadeaway three, hit the buzzer, nails it, wins the NBA Finals. I mean, she pulls an answer to this question out of thin friggin' air. Like, I'm thinking, I have you now. Like, I'm like Mr. Burns, like, excellent. I'm waiting for her defeat. Like, I shall gloat upon her, cold nerd corpse, And it was just like, and she pulls it out of nowhere, and I'm just like, how this is so. I was apoplectic. Like, I didn't have words. I couldn't even finish sentences. I'm just,
Wes is one of the only people who have ever beat me. I think Wes and one of my brothers has beat me one time. So I've lost twice.
See, one of them is her brother. She has to love him. The other one is her husband. So she's like, a man I'm not related to beat me. I'm in love.
Yeah, it really was totally the deciding factor.
It was totally. You're like, you know what? That's it. Just scoop me up, take me away, and love me forever.
Yeah.
So you're saying about we're having too much fun. So you were saying about the trivia about the episode.
Whenever Ensign Kim decides he's finally going to escape and he's trying to get away, and he leaves that room, and all the women are there with a stick, and he sees one empty doorway that he's going to escape through, and he runs down that doorway. And the woman that comes out is Patricia Tallman, who played Lita from Babylon 5.
Oh, wow. But
I was looking at her. I'm like, is that Patricia Tallman? Oh my gosh, it is. So of course I had to confirm it, but I'm like, ah.
But that's not the only. That's like not the only Babylon 5 Star Trek connection, because Walter Koenig from the original series, he played a pivotal role on Babylon 5. He actually even says he enjoyed Babylon 5 more because he was treated better on Babylon 5. Like his character and what he was allowed to do. Whereas on Trek, he was just this, keeping these nuclear whistle. He was just the comic relief and the joke, with this thick, Russian accent. It was just like ridiculous. Yeah. But he says in Babylon 5, he had more fun because they let him act,
Well, he has this really creepy, evil character that is just smarmy and slimy, and it's more fun playing bad guys.
That's what I've heard.
Because there's way more difference and way more range that you can do stuff with, and if you're playing one of the good guys, they're normally locked into this little box.
Right, you're lawful good, and you have to be lawful good, whereas you can be chaotic evil as hell. You can be a villain.
Yeah.
Plus, the scenery is more delicious chewing when you're evil.
Oh yeah. So Walter Koenig as Bester on Babylon 5 is, I think, one of my favorite things We just saw him in an episode that we watched a few days ago, and it's like, oh, I hate him. When's he coming back?
Those are some of the best characters. You're just like, ooh, I can't stand this guy. Like, oh, I hate him. Oh, what's he gonna do next?
Yeah.
I can't stand
Well,
him.
Q.
Yeah.
Q is
John Delancey. He is great. He was great as Q.
Yeah,
I hope.
he's chaotic, everything.
I hope that they find a place for him to come back on Picard. That would be fantastic. You know what?
We haven't watched any of Picard because we're working our way through Star Trek right now, and we're in the middle of DS9 season 5, I believe. So we were wanting to go through everything before we started watching the new stuff. So
that's a lot of Trek, man.
It is, but we're giant nerds, so.
Being giant nerd helps. I've got a lot of free time, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's me forgetting to turn off my air conditioning. Hold up one moment while I turn off my AC. Be right back.
Okay, while he's gone. I'm just going to take a drink.
Oh. That's the joys of being able to have an editor who will edit that out. For Timmy to figure out, like, yeah, my AC comes on at a certain point. Could you just edit that part out? It'll be a nice cut. He'll make it fancy. He'll be like, he'll be like, 2 hours later. So yeah, well, that's cool because being a giant nerd helps, and I've got a lot of free time to watch, and I'm just burning through. I'm like, I'm just gonna start with Next Generation, then I'll move to DS9, and then I'll watch the episodes of Voyager that I actually like, and skip all the rest of them. Like, just get to the point where they get 7 or 9.
We decided to do this because Wes had found out that I had never seen the original series. Because I came into it with Next Generation, so as far as I was concerned, that's where Star Trek started when I was growing up. And I was aware of the original series, and I knew what was going on with it and the references, but I had never actually watched it. And so we decided to go through all of it, and then we went through all the movies, and then Next Generation, and now we're in DS9. But I love the original series too, and I got to say, one of my favorite part of the whole original series was Nichelle Nichols.
She was great. She's the original barrier breaker for Star Trek, you know. Network television, a black woman. Fantastic. And she had that hair. She was just nails and all the whole deal.
But yeah, every time one of those white boys started to do something that was her job, she had this look on her face like,
you're just like,
this bitch.
She had the F you think you talking to face, like had that, like the eyes, you know, like.
Right. Well, and for its time, it was incredibly groundbreaking to have a female on the crew, and a black female at that, but yet she still answered the space telephone.
Right. It's like,
and she was never in charge.
Like, we'll give a black woman, we'll put her on TV, we'll put her on the bridge. She'll get to like kiss the white dude, you know. It'll be like, oh, you know, housewives, you know, fainting like, oh my God, a black woman kissed a white man, oh, you know.
Well, and that kiss almost didn't make it. We have Will Shatner to thank for that.
Yeah, he pushed for it, didn't he? He was just like.
Well, he not only pushed for it, he sabotaged things. So they had to, because they had filmed so much, and he insisted on doing the kiss. And the producers are like, okay, well, we need to do one. Can we do one without the kiss? Just one. And he goes, all right, fine. We'll do one without the kiss. And so he came to the scene, and he started to do the scene without the kiss, and he looked right in the camera and crossed his eyes. And that was the last shot of the day. And they're like, okay, we don't have time or money to film any more of this. We're done.
Yeah. I think he just used it as an excuse because, you know, it's William Shatner. He's like, I just want to kiss her on the lips. Yeah.
Up until
I'm
then,
William Shatner. I'm the star of the
perfect.
show, so I'm going to
Yeah.
kiss a woman if I want to.
Yeah.
Damn the prime directive, Spock. We need to
Oh,
make love to that entire planet of women.
yeah,
Spock
one
was
at a
like,
time and sometimes in succession.
yeah,
Or at
Spock was
a-
like, that's how the electrical
yeah,
kept it.
yeah. It's groundbreaking as Star Trek is. They still had things that they could have done better, or can do better in the future. And I believe, 'cause I haven't caught up on Discovery yet. I think I only saw half of the first season. Um, but apparently there is going to be an all-female bridge crew.
Yes, Discovery has come leaps and bounds. Like I'm believing this will be season 4 coming up. The upcoming season
Mm-hmm.
is going to have Michael Burnham. She's a black female captain. Yay!
Right, I love her.
And
I think she's
her
great.
first officer is going to be female. Like, so it's going to be the helmsman will be a woman, the navigator. So it's gonna be amazing. And I'm like, it's about freaking time. They had to go,
Right.
30 some years into the future in our time, and then 900 and some odd years in the future in their time to reach some equality. That doesn't seem like the Star Trek way.
Well, it just kind of shows you that as much progress has been made in things, there are still things that can and should be improved upon.
Most definitely. Like, for example, how this, going from Instant Kim to another beloved by the fans character who I don't feel got proper representation. Geordi the Forge, the genius. Everyone remembers him as the genius chief engineer of the Starship Enterprise. NCC 1701D. He was the man. But the first season, he was the helmsman of the ship. And he wore red and everything. He was red shirt. So, and he was on the bridge. He was part of the bridge crew. He was in a lot more scenes. He had a lot more to do. He got to go on missions, and just he was there. He interacted. And then Wesley Crusher comes along and basically takes his friggin' spot. This Mary Sue ass Wesley Crusher, kid with no experience, okay, hasn't gone to Starfleet Academy. Just this snot-nosed kid who's just arrogant, smart, got a stick up his butt, okay? It's just this kid, he just no business being there. Like, I'm with Picard. He says, shut up, Wesley, He comes, and like season 2, he's the freaking helmsman. They let him drive the ship. I don't know about you. I know there's no money in Star Trek Future, but I'm sure that Enterprise cost them like billions of dollars, all right? And they're letting him drive a spaceship like it's all cool. Like you let your son borrow the car for the day or something. No! It's like, hey, son, no, here's my hot-ass Ferrari. Here are the keys. Try to keep her under 200, Like,
right.
Hey, Wesley, try to keep it under warp 7, okay?
Right. Well, and this is again kind of testament to how big of a nerd I am. Even though I acknowledge that Wesley Crusher was not the best thing about Star Trek, I went and married somebody whose name was Wesley. So.
Do you ever do that to him? Like, shut up, Wesley.
Ooh.
No. Do you want to start an argument? Do you want to get in trouble?
No, he acknowledges. He's like, my name was cool until Wesley Crusher joined the Enterprise.
It's like
and
Office
then it kind
Space.
of went down here.
It's like Office Space. He's like, well, I don't understand the problem is. It's like Michael Bolton, it is a very fine name. He's like, why don't you change your name to Mike? He's like, why should I change? He's the one who sucks. No talent ass clown.
Yeah. But I love I love Will Wheaton. So it's kind of weird. I love the actor. The character irritates me.
Yeah,
so much.
Will Wheaton, the actor, is great. He's a tabletop gamer. He has a great. Him and his wife are just so active and awesome in social media.
Yeah.
He's a consummate geek, but his character was a Crusher.
Right.
Terrible. Because he
Well,
just
and then it's kind of just pushed Geordi to the
this
back of the bridge.
privileged privileged, inexperienced Mary Sue and white kid, just with all the talent in the world. Like it wasn't enough that he was the chief medical officer's beloved son. Okay, Picard was felt responsible for watching out for him because his father was killed under his command. So the kid's already got those two chips going for him, and of course that he's Caucasian, so he's got white privilege, and of course he's a genius. And then he's not just a genius; he's also like a wayfinder, or he just knows how to find his way through space because of space magic. And like, I can make ships go warp 2000 because just guys, plot armor. And I'm like, come on, dude,
go faster.
Yeah, because I want to. And then it's like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and take over this man who went through Starfleet Academy and has become, a lieutenant, and he's worked hard to become a helmsman on the flagship starship of the Federation. On to be, and people say, well, he got promoted to chief engineer. I guess
he got put down in the engine room.
But it's like he only got put there because the other two guys got killed that were before him. So they're like, hey, put the black guy in charge of it. He's the one, the blind one? Yeah, the one who has to wear that stupid visor. Let's put him down in the engine room where he can't be seen. And then when he's only heard, and then we'll make him hook up with with Data because the robot needs a black friend. He was token.
Yeah, the only beneficial thing to that the visor that Geordi had to wear is it made it easier for LeVar Burton to take naps on set.
I bet. He's like, I'm not on call right now. This scene doesn't involve me, so I'm just gonna. Yeah, it looked like he was wearing a hairband. Like he just took a hairband, an 80s hairband, and just rolled it down over his eyes.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It was a banana clip that was painted.
Yeah. You know what? Costuming and sets, the stuff that they put together. And they said that it was and they said it was it was painful for him to wear. And I'm like, I get you're trying to make him, it was like, okay, you're trying to, I guess, include people with disabilities. Like your disability doesn't prevent you from achieving what you want, your dreams. It shouldn't. But it's like, okay, I understand you've made him sightless, but did you need to make him wear this stupid visor? Like, did you need to put him in pain for you to represent? You could have given him colored contacts, which would have been a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
Or, and when he took it off, the eyes were clouded. You could have left it that way and just said,
the eyes were clouded, you could have
you could have put just little nodules and say, oh, it's wired into my, optic nerve, and I see the electromagnetic spectrum. But they consciously put that crap on his face. And it was like, LeVar Burton was uncomfortable. And I'm like, at the point the show was first being made, LeVar Burton was the most famous and noteworthy person on that show. He'd been doing Reading Rainbow. Yeah. He was, whoop the damn kente, for Christ's sake. He was in Roots. And he gets treated like that. And I got to tell this story before we completely run out of time and get lost. Is we went to an Austin convention, Austin Comic-Con. It was one of the first ones that we went to as Geek Ventures. We had a road crew that went to conventions and filmed footage and put together, overview pieces and review pieces. Who put on, our YouTube page or our other YouTube page, Geek Ventures Television, which is sadly a little lacking now since coronavirus has kind of put the kibosh on conventions these days. But
when it's over, we're going everywhere, dude.
I'm everywhere. I'm touching everything. I'm hugging everybody. Strangers better watch out. I'm gonna hug you. Like, do I know you? No, but you do now. It's gonna be amazing.
I don't know you, but I love you. Come here.
It's gonna be wondrous. I'm gonna go to movie theaters and I'm gonna be like, hey man, I'm just gonna bump into you. Do you need this armrest? No, you put your arm here. Let's hold arms. Let's hold hands.
Yeah, we'll just lock arms like they do with the little champagne drinks.
It'll be loved Love them.
Yeah.
So we were at the Austin Comic Con, and we just arrived. We didn't set up, start shooting yet. Timmy, our fantastic photojournalist, extraordinaire, editor, executive producer, Timothy Stewart, fantastic man. You'll see when you see the graphics below. They're going to be fancy. Can't wait. So we're not even recording yet, and we're going up an escalator, and lo and behold, LeVar Burton is just kind of walking through. And I was just like, what? That's LeVar Burton, yo. And I just was like, hey, LeVar, Mr. Burton, I got to ask you, because it was fresh in my mind, because I just watched the Trek episode, Booby Trap, where he was like falling in love with Dr. Leah Brahm, like the lady who designed the Enterprise's warp engine. So, and of course the holodeck chick was all like, yes, Geordi, whatever you want, Geordi. Of course, Geordi. Yes, of course. And he was just like,
you're so smart, Geordi.
Yeah. Do you want me to rub your shoulders? And she did. She started rubbing his shoulder. He's like, I can't let you do that. I can't. I have to. No. And it was just like, wah, wah, waka, waka. I mean, it was like going that way,
Yeah.
10 more minutes of the holodeck, it would have had to hose it down because there would have been Geordi everywhere. Geordi juice. It would have been Geordi juice everywhere. So I'm asking.
It's raining men.
It's raining men. Hallelujah. It's raining. Yeah. Geordi everywhere. So I ask him, so what happened? What's up, man? They let Data get some before you, man. They let the robot get laid before you. What was up with that? And I swear on my mother's grave, he said to me, I don't know, man. Why don't you ask the White Riders? I have witnesses, total witnesses. People who could corroborate. He said that to me, and I was just like, who gets it mad? It's like, damn, they did a brother wrong. People were like, you are making this up, Geekfather. These are stories. These are lies. They're not lies.
No, I believe you.
It's so true. So true.
Yeah. I follow LeVar Burton on Twitter. I believe he said that.
So he starts to fall in love with Dr. Brahms, and it's like, cool, all right. So in the next episode, that Susan Gibney, the actress who plays her, appears, Galaxy's Child. So the real Leah Brahms comes, and he's thinking, I get to meet her. She's gonna be great, cool. Because
we get to bond for real.
Yeah, we get to bond for real. Maybe I'll get to touch her naughty bits.
Right?
Because the holodeck took the info it had from like sources in the Starfleet database, interviews, and her personal notes, stuff like that, and put together an amalgamation of what it had. So it, it's like, with a variance error of 8-point-something% or 9%, and that 9% was a big difference because she got on the ship and she was mean. She's like, "What'd you do to my engines? I don't like you. I ain't like you like that. Don't touch me. I'm married. Stop it.
Yeah.
You're looking at me weird. You creepo." So it's like, they turned Geordi into a creeper. Okay, he was a creeper. And then they made him awkward. It's like, why you got to make it was like they were so conscious in trying to not make him like the standard trope for the black men in media. Oh, he's a thug. He's a gangster. Oh, he's a womanizer. Oh, he's good. It's like they try to make him square and as geeky and as bad with women as possible. Like bad. Just 7 years in the show, you're like, they didn't let that brother. I mean, on a away mission, he didn't get to go to the pleasure planet. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, well,
it's only the white guys that got to go.
I know, right? It was like Picard,
Riker, who they knew he's got.
Riker put his space nuts on everything.
He has so many illegitimate children scattered throughout the galaxy. Every Enterprise has a Riker in it.
Every chair on the Enterprise has got his DNA on it because he did that leg over he just stepped over the chair and like his nuts were brushing every top of every chair. Like I was like, did Riker touch that chair? I'm not sitting. Give me a new chair. I'm not sitting in that chair. No,
Who's
I'm
got
not
some
sitting in
Lysol?
that chair. Yeah,
We have
no.
some wipes.
You got some space Lysol? Got something? Because was Riker here? No, I'm not. No, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And it was like there was even a clone of him. Like they cloned him, and then they didn't like. You know, if it was like Geordi's clone, they would have found a way to destroy the clone, or he got dematerialized. Riker, they're just like, nah, we'll just let him.
No, we'll
just let him
back
roam the
to
galaxy to do whatever he wants. Not even have to change his name. He's like, oh, you're Will Riker? Well, I'm William T. Riker. Like, oh, that's a difference enough, right?
Yeah, that's close enough. Yeah, we don't have to worry about going back through Starfleet or anything. You know, we'll just put him on another ship and let him have at it.
Right. That's easy. That's a simple solution. You know, Picard is like, oh, no, that sounds good to me. You know, it's just
of course he's trustworthy. He has the beard.
Even like the one bumbling guy. Who was it? The bumbling idiot one that always got in trouble. His name I can't recall. Where they turned him into a super genius.
The one that almost turned him into a fly. Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's fine. I'll build my own quantum computer thingy, whatever. And you're like, all right. Well, poor Geordi is like, I just want to touch boobies.
What? Why can I not remember what his name is? But I know exactly who you're talking about.
Barclay. Yeah.
Barclay.
Instead of Barclay, you're like, okay, he's a bumbling idiot. I'm finally a white guy who's a bumbling idiot on a show. I'm in for it. And then it's like, make him a genius. And you're like, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they turned him back into a bumbling idiot, but still, why couldn't you hook Geordi up with that? Why was there only one black guy on the whole ship? Where were all the other brothers? Where were the Asian people? Where were the minority women? And it's
they
like
were in medical with Dr. Crusher.
Right. So the women on the show, I guess there were 3 women that were part of the main 7 cast, but 2 of them were in nurturing roles. Like Dr. Crusher was a doctor who wasn't on the bridge, and Counselor Troy, who was like, feelings. I feel feelings, Captain. They're feeling the feelings, and it's very feely. And he's like, thank you, Counselor Troy, thank you. And then he totally discarded what she said and said, like, I'll go down there and I'll solve the problem because I'm Captain Jean-Luc Picard. You know?
Right. Captain, I'm feeling very intense feelings of deception and deceit and bad things happening down there. Oh, well, let me go check it out and find out.
Yeah, and he's like, then he does all the things she told him not to do. He's like, he deceives, he lies. He's like, but Captain's discretion. And then Riker is like, ooh, look, there's a woman over there. Let me go ahead and talk to her real quick.
Well, and even the one episode where it was, they visited a planet that were gender neutral. There were no male and female. He found the one person who identified as a female.
And he banged her.
And he banged her.
Because he's Riker.
Because he's Riker, and that's what Riker did.
And it took until DS9 for there to be a black captain, Captain Sisko, Benjamin Sisko.
Who's arguably the best captain.
Arguably, yes. Okay. I'm like torn because like you, I'm a Next Generation kid because I watched it with she was OG, like the original series when she was a kid, and then the Next Generation came on, so we watched it together. And I remember it used to come on CBS after the news on Saturday nights because they were just like they wanted to show, but they didn't really have faith in it, like they could run it in like prime time. So we stayed up and we watched it together because I'm a nerd kid and I didn't have any friends. I have friends, but you know what it is being a nerd. I was friends with my mom. I know. I was mama's boy. But we watched it and I got, become a Trek nerd. So I was like Picard, and then she was like, no, Kirk. And so I was like, okay, Picard, Sisko, Kirk, and then, Janeway, and then further down after that. But I don't know, man. It's just, you think a show that's supposed to be about inclusiveness and everyone just seeing each other as just human beings striving to do the best and to advance, stature and of mankind as a whole. It wouldn't be so structured and limiting, and these characters being tossed to the side, or like my biggest gripe is they let the robot get laid. before Geordi.
Yeah.
The robot who didn't even care about sex. He had no need for it. He didn't want to do it. But
and he was raped by Tasha.
He was.
She
Oh
didn't
my
ask
God.
him.
That's an aspect.
Him.
That's an aspect that they just gloss over. Tasha Yar took his manhood or robothood. I don't know what you want to, however you want to call it. And it was like, she's like, just come with me. And he's like,
she just assumed that he was willing.
Okay. I mean,
let him into the room.
I mean, I know Data looks like he's a 40-year-old grown-ass man, but he was really like a 15-year-old like robot. He didn't know. He was a teenager.
Right.
He was titillated, I'm sure, if he was a guy.
Well, he was probably just, it's like, if she had asked him, it's like, do you want to do this? He'd probably like, it would be interesting to find out.
Right. If she'd asked, they could have. It would have taken like a minute to solve that issue of consent. Right. There's another episode where space entity, I don't know, Star Trek and space entities always taking over the ship.
Yeah. Right.
Too much. It's too much. Space entity comes in and it shows it like coming through the ship wall and going and finding, of course, Deanna Troy's quarters. Always Troy. And it knocked her up. Like, they didn't ask. There's no consent there either. She got knocked up and it was like, oh. And then she was pregnant. And then she had the baby. And then it was like, cool. All right. And everyone was cool with it. Nobody asked, hey, did he ask? Did the alien ask? Was it like, hey, I don't know what your guys' culture is like, whatever, but is this cool with you? I mean,
I want to experience what life is like for a human. So can I knock you up so I can be born?
I mean, it's an awkward question still, but at least you could ask.
Right. But on the flip side of things, there were some really subtle things that they did that I really appreciate. Like in The Next Generation, you can be seen multiple times throughout all the episodes, men walking around in those little skirts.
What do they call them?
Just a little skirt uniform.
Sports?
I don't know. I never saw them do the splits or anything.
Starts but it was, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
second
dress.
Season. Yeah.
It was a dress, and it is a non-issue because they're like, well, wear whatever you want. Who gives a damn? He's wearing a dress. Okay, fine. Is he doing his job? Yeah. Okay. Well, then who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And on DS9, they actually didn't address it directly, and they didn't come out and fully say this, but showed that Klingons understand trans rights. When Kor meets Jadzia again, and he calls her Curzon. Hey, Curzon, my old friend, I haven't seen you in so long. And she goes, it's Jadzia now. And Kor goes, Jadzia, my old friend. I'm like, okay, Klingons understand trans rights.
Right. I mean, you could see the progress they're making throughout the Trek series. Like, they kept making positive progress. I mean, until Enterprise, and it was like, Enterprise failed horribly in the Bechdel test, Like, were there two women talking to each other about something other than a man? Right? So it was always like, oh, we're always talking about Tucker or Archer because they're dreaming.
Oh.
No, really. Scott Bakula is pretty damn hot. But,
absolutely.
So
who didn't want to quantum leap all over that?
I'm not, I like women, but I'm saying, I can admit the guy's handsome. He had all those episodes with the hairy chest and just, he was, who was it from Galaxy Quest where Ella Rickman's like, oh, look, he's found a way to get his shirt off again.
Another interesting little bit of trivia about Geordi. Do you know who auditioned to be Geordi LaForge before they cast LeVar Burton?
Oh no, who? Please tell me.
Wesley Snipes.
Oh, that's right. That would have been hilarious.
Wesley Snipes auditioned for Geordi LaForge.
Like Picard would have been like, Geordi, bridge to engineering. I need warp factor 8. And then Geordi would be like, some mother uppers always trying to skate uphill. And Picard would be like,
what?
Huh?
What? Hey?
Yeah, might have helped Wesley Snipes' tax problems from.
Yeah.
But he was still a young actor then. He wasn't Blade Wesley Snipes at that point. But that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and it's just all these different what could have been.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's like that with anything. But like the little tidbit of trivia about the actress who played Dr. Leah Brahms, Susan Gibney, who originally they were supposed to be a black actress, but it didn't say so in the script. So they were just like, whatever, it's fine. And so that's how she ended up being a white actress. She appeared as a different character in Deep Space Nine, Commander Erica Bentine. She also, I guess, she tried out for a bunch of different Trek roles. That she almost played 7 of 9 in Voyager. She almost played the Borg Queen in First Contact.
Oh.
So Trek is interesting. The people that get cast and the connections it has to other nerd media. That's just really fascinating that we don't have time to get into. But closing, you said you wanted to mention was it a writer that you?
Yeah, it's a writer that I've been following for a while. I first became aware of her a few years ago because she's really big into cosplaying, and she has written some books about, I think the title of it is called Magnifique Noir, which they are her Magical Black Girl series. And this is actually the second one. And it's basically, it's a team of superheroes that are fabulously queer black superheroes.
Unabashedly, unashamedly.
They are themselves, and it's the adventures that they go through, and it's just, I think it's a wonderful way of looking at things. Like, not everything has to be about a group of old, young, middle-aged white guys.
Doesn't always have to be about the cisgender white guy hero. Yeah.
Right.
Heroes come in all kinds of packages.
Lawrence. Yeah.
Okay. Brianna Lawrence.
Yeah. Brianna Lawrence. She is currently a writer with themarysue.com, where she is working on a series, 28 Days of Black Cosplay. So every day she is featuring another cosplayer that is black and making forays into the cosplay scene, and some of them are absolutely fantastic and brilliantly done.
That's dope, man.
But she started out doing cosplay and selling her little merch table that she had, and her costume that she wore a lot was Princess Peach. And of course, some butthurt white guy told her that she shouldn't be cosplaying Princess Peach, and she should just go home and fry some chicken.
Oh, you don't tell black women that. That's just.
Ooh, so she went home and fried some chicken and wrote an article about body positivity.
Well, still, I mean, fried chicken is delicious. I mean,
well, it's fantastic. It's wonderful, but he might have been telling like any other woman, go make me a sandwich. I was like, go make yourself a damn sandwich.
All right. Oh.
Yeah. But her name is Brianna Lawrence. She's on Facebook. She's a writer for the Mary Sue. She is absolutely wonderfully positive about so many things. She and her wife have an Etsy store where they sell face masks, because they had to put their convention schedule on hold because people are stupid. So now they make geeky face masks and quilts and hats and all sort of little things like that. And Brianna is writing about anime and cosplay. So
that is awesome. That is fabulous.
So,
well, look,
yeah.
we're running out of time. We probably ran out of time like 15 minutes ago. But before we go, I want to let you guys know that I'm the Geekfather, and I've been talking to my friend Patricia, really good friends. And what we want you to do to help the channel out is we want you to like this video and subscribe to the channel so that it'll help the algorithm. We'll come up more in searches when people search for like-minded stuff, like they'll come up with Star Trek. They'll find this. And of course, we're great. They'll subscribe, follow, the snowball gets going, and it helps us. So go ahead and do that. Do it right now. And also, I want to tell you that we've got merch. Special merch. This is a design from my personal friend, Zip Allegria. You can find him on twitch.tv/zipdraw. That is me, and a little bit in animated form. This is our main podcast, The Blurred Nerds. I made it 3 backwards. And it's fabulous. And we have another design. It's our original logo. If you want to go to teespring.com/The Blurred Nerds, and that's the blurred nerds. Check it out. Pick up some merch. We'd really appreciate it. It would help the channel out, help the podcast out, and help us get seen. It would be a great time. So unless you've got anything else, Patricia, maybe a favorite Trek moment?
My favorite Trek moment that always pops up in first in my head is from the original series, actually, when when they're on the bridge and George Takei is getting that shot in his neck, and then he just melts, and it's like, okay, well, that's when he became gay. So
that's when he became gay.
And I pretty much, if it's anything that involves Sulu, I am all about.
Sulu was great.
Sulu is wonderful.
My favorite Trek moment is, well, I love Wrath of Khan, but Next Generation, second episode, Naked Now, when Troy propositions Riker, that awoke something in me. I was
sure it awoke something in a lot of people.
I was 13 watching this episode with my mother, and there was magical things going on, and I'm like, oh,
I gotta go to my room.
Yeah.
I'm
going to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. 20 minutes later, came back with like a smile on my face. That was a great episode, wasn't it? Yeah. So, but anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time. This has been Bosom Blurredies. I'm the Geekfather. This is Patricia. Hello.